Hey, Oz.
Hey, Curtis.
Wait, what the?
And hey, Don.
Hey, Don
S.
S.
Patreon subscriber Don S. Yes.
Don Patreon subscriber Don
tell her
S.
my name is
What are you
tagged right
doing here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Normally, Oz, what are we watching this week?
Well, this week, per Don's request, we're watching a movie marriage of Adventureland meets The Sixth Sense with a lot of Iron Man 2, all taking place at Wisconsin Dells.
Perfect.
This week, we are watching The Way, Way Back.
I would have been shocked had Adventureland.
Yeah.
I know. It was
yes.
almost too obvious, but I'm like, well, whatever. So welcome back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, the weekly podcast where we take a monthly theme. Another theme that we're taking the month off, by the way, is we are going with Patreon Subscriber Choice Month, and we are back with our second guest in 2 weeks, Don S.
Yes,
welcome
thank
back.
you.
Welcome
Thank you,
back
yes, thank
to
you,
the
fellas.
show.
Cousin Don.
I feel like it's
here.
like about a year since Anaconda, so thanks for having.
Yes,
thanks for having me then.
I was feeling
Thanks
the
for having me
itch.
then. Thanks for having me now. Appreciate it. And I paid damn good money to be here. Oh, $12.
That's right.
Yes, it's worth every euro.
There we go.
That's right. Every ruble So, Don, before we get rolling, go ahead and sell yourself.
My name is Don Shanahan. I'm a press credentialed film critic in the city of Chicago. I'm Rotten Tomatoes approved. I'm a member of the Critics' Choice Association, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Film Obsessive. When I'm not doing that, my home site that I got everything started for is called Every Movie Has a Lesson. Those are the search terms on socials you can find my work and stuff at, but this has been a good time, and I get to welcome you two boys into the same organization that I help found and run, which is the Chicago Indie Critics Group. So that's what brings us all together.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You've been a great support for us.
Oh, yeah,
and we're very grateful.
Happy you two are here with us.
Very, very, very much so. And without you, we'd have one less listener or slash viewer each week, which would put us near negative territory.
Yes, $3 to $6 less per month.
Right. I don't know what we do. My kids thank you, Don. They were allowed to split a hot dog.
Here we go.
3 ways. You
And one of those not a bun length one of the OG regular.
No, just regular Oscar.
Not a Costco dog. No.
Well, that's
you could have gotten 4 of those.
Yeah, exactly. So, Don, tell us why you brought this.
I brought 3 movies to the table when you asked the Patreon subscribers to kind of come up with some ideas. I brought this one, The Way, Way Back. I'm a sucker for a good coming of age film. I know you both are kind of connected in school ways. I know Mike has put school in his pasture behind him, but Kurt, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm still doing some fringe work.
I know Curtis and I are knee deep in the just relationships with children, relationships with teens, and how all that kind of works, and where we are all men. Where I believe in the ways that we've been able to do what we do at schools, whether it's teacher, counselor, or otherwise, we are inadvertently father figures in many ways. And this is one of the better father figure movies I've ever really seen, and I just love it. And we're coming up on summer, coming up on spring break, and it's just a buoyant and fun movie to see for hopefully the weather getting warmer. The other 2 movies I brought to you were, I know you guys are, more horror guys than I am, or just more weirdo guys than I am. You guys cover movies I would never think of doing.
That is true.
I did The Man Who Killed Bigfoot. I'm sorry, Hitler, and then the Bigfoot with Sam Elliott, where I'm like, let's just have a good romp of a time of like silly violence and good science fiction. And then I brought the 3-hour epic Indian film from last year, RRR, which is the wildest action movie I've seen in quite some time. But you guys went for the shortest one, and I don't blame you. Yeah.
Yes.
It's fair. Fair.
Yeah, you sniffed it out.
I did. Yeah. But no, that's why this movie's here. I was happy to hear that you two have never seen it, so I'm glad I brought something to the table. That was
first time for both Oz and I.
And it's one of those like I try to keep an eye on the indie scene a little bit. Like maybe not. I mean, it's impossible to keep your eyes on the entire indie scene.
Yes,
but one that packs such a cast as this one. Which is very impressive. Speaking of cast, Curtis, who do you have in this film?
We do have quite the cast of The Way, Way Back here, fellas. We've got Liam James as Duncan, the character, our lead character here, protagonist. We follow his story around.
His name is Duncan Way Back.
Duncan Way Back.
They call him.
It's an old family name.
DWB in the biz. Yeah.
That's right.
What
would Duncan do?
Dweeb, if you put an E in between. Got it.
That would explain the bracelets they were all wearing. We have Duncan's mother, Toni Collette, playing Pam. We have her long-term boyfriend, Trent Ramsey, played by a dastardly Steve Carell.
Mm-hmm.
I got a feeling that's going to come up probably later.
Yeah.
We got next door neighbor at this little beach community they have here. The wonderful Allison Janney as Betty, and Betty's daughter Susanna, played by Anna Sophia Robb. We've got some other folks in the movie. We got Sam Rockwell as local.
What would you call him? Yeah,
local water park magnate.
Right. Yeah,
exactly.
Probably not quite. I just like saying the
call.
word magnate.
Right.
Owen, and we have his coworker Caitlin, played by of all people Maya Rudolph. And then we got Lewis, played by one of the directors, Jim Rash of Community fame. We got the other director, Nat Faxon, playing Roddy, another guy who works at the park there. And then we got some other people who are just in the neighborhood.
I found that I did find it odd that like this entire water park is staffed by adults.
Right, not a 17-year-old in sight.
Like middle-aged adults.
Yeah, like these are adults that probably should have some sort of direction in their life at this point, and they're all like,
that might be later.
Here.
You know, like, hey, wait a second.
Yeah. We'll see if we come back to that.
Right.
We also got Rob Corddry and Amanda Peet as a couple, Kip and Joan. I think I got everybody there. There's some other characters.
Yeah, there's
Peter.
There's
Peter.
There's the not the sister, but Steve Carell's daughter.
Right.
Yeah, Stephanie. Yeah, who's kind of in and out a couple of times. Yeah,
right.
Those are all the main characters.
Well
so Patreon subscriber John S. Right. What do we have for the plot of the way back?
So we open.
Pray to whatever deity you follow.
At least you knew there was a plot coming your way.
It's I pray to the Puerto Rican batting gods that the MLB guys pray to before they swing a bat. So that's where I'm at here.
I pray to Joe Boo.
That Pedro Serrano.
Right, but no, I'm going back. Hector Villanueva. I need mid-'80s Cubs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There we go.
I'm not sure if he ever made that move when he batted, but I'm just going to pretend he does. Yeah.
He should have. He would have had a longer career.
Kidding, right?
Right as the pitch is thrown, he makes that move.
A little delay from the swing on Hector. Yeah.
I really hope he's throwing a changeup on this one.
So this movie opens with kind of the location and setting that kind of matches the title. You're in the farthest rear-facing back seat of a Buick Riviera station wagon, driven by Trent. Trent, you only see through the rearview mirror, and it's the unmistakable eyes and eyebrows of Steve Carell. He is quizzing young Liam James, our main character Duncan, of how he feels he scores himself as a eligible bachelor on the scale of 1 to 10. And everyone else in the car is kind of nodding off and sleeping on whatever drive they're going to for the place that they will settle in. But they're having a very much of a one-on-one conversation. They're not really seeing each other. It's just one rearview mirror and then one guy looking out the back of the window. So they don't really look eye to eye, and they don't really see eye to eye movie. And Steve Carell's dastardly character is asking whether or not what scale he finds himself to be. Liam kind of modestly says he's a 6. Steve Carell, without missing a beat, says, "I think you're a 3." And therein starts the jerkdom of Steve Carell, where he's like, "Hey, let's get that score. Yes. Let's get you out there." And just a very misogynistic way and very conceited way of looking at things. And you could tell right from the get-go that this is not going to be the nice Steve Carell, which isn't at the time of the movie came out in 2013, quite a rarity to see out of him. He wouldn't.
That's why it's an indie film.
He wouldn't do Foxcatcher for I think another year, 2014, where he really turn the screws.
Can't believe Evan Almighty acts
right. Yeah, bringing it the way back machine of 2013.
The guy from the Daily Show.
But so that's kind of getting where they're going. The destination of where everyone's heading is Wareham, Massachusetts, which is kind of a beachfront town on the Cape outside of Boston, and the home of the Waterways Water Park, which we'll get to later. But it's also kind of a vacation town for sorts for people who have means enough to have a beach house. Because
I love how Trent's talking, and he makes sure to tell both Pam and Duncan as well as the audience, I have a beach house.
Yeah,
this is my dad's.
I paid to get this to get this vintage Buick station wagon.
But upon arrival, where we're already definitely up against Trent here a little bit, it's kind of this everyone's kind of middle aged. They're all kind of trying to have that summer fun and frivolity and being quite the adult lushes that kind of are immature and never grown up, and their kids, their teens or their preteens are all stuck there with the drunk parents, and that's kind of the weekend.
Hated it.
That's kind of the weekend scene around July 4th that we're watching here, where you can figure this is about a 1 week or 2 week kind of stay. And, even Trent's own daughter kind of is there to kind of avoid any babysitting. She's kind of the one old enough to sneak a few beers and go to the beach. And
I don't know if she's sneaking them.
But
I'm going to take this.
But our guy Duncan is billed to be 14 years old. He's played by a 17-year-old, and one of the more convincing, I have to say, teen actors that looks the part of a 14-year-old. Yeah. It's not like Jacob Elordi, 6'5", looking like he's an 18-year-old in high schooler on a Netflix movie. So that's not too bad.
Right.
As we progress, we arrive at this setting, and Toni Collette comes rolling in as the margarita wave of woman that she is, and the G and Allison Janney. I'm sorry, but she comes rolling in as just kind of the G&T swilling local lady that is obviously into everyone's business, into everyone's friends. She meets Toni Collette as the mother Pam. Obviously, she knows Steve Carell because they're all longtime residents of this little area, and kind of we're off in terms of the relationship dynamics that are there between the adults, while the kids, like you said, are sitting there just miserable, waiting for them to get over with whatever they're going to do and drink the next day.
It's like the kids don't even like each other, let alone so you don't even have that kind of companionship amongst this sucks that our parents are this way. Let's go hang out. Like the kids don't even the neighbor girl hates Stephanie. Like they don't like each other at all. You feel bad because they're just tag-alongs for this adult fun.
Well, even a little, I'm fast forwarding a little bit in the movie, but Susanna even says at one point, like this is like spring break for our parents.
Yeah.
And like Don, I think you captured it perfectly. It's they're all regressing to like the 19-year-old versions of themselves.
Right. Like our kids are just old enough that we don't have to babysit them. So let's go out and have fun.
But it's tricky because and you could tell with the clues that come in about this first act that everyone comes from a splintered and busted home. Like Trent is obviously a divorcee because he's got a teenage daughter that's not from Pam. Pam's come rolling in here obviously reasonably soon after her own divorce and separation, where our guy Duncan really probably longs to spend the summer with his dad and not his mom. Anna Sophia,
especially Trent.
Anna Sophia Robb kind of describes how dad's not in the picture next door with Toni Collette's character. We've got Rob Corddry and Amanda Pete's family. I don't even know if they have children, or if they do, they're just not in the picture. Little Petey is just, which is Anna Sophia Robb's little brother in the film. I don't know the actor's name that plays the little guy, but he just little Petey with, and of course,
it's like little Sebastian.
That's why they cast him.
Or they cast him for his fantastic eye.
He already had an eye patch, like fit the mold. He's just there.
Oh, I know, actually. And so they're all. Everyone kind of gives out very quickly the shades of home sucks and home's not even complete. Yeah. So and then yet here we are, like Curtis said, we're all kind of regressing to the point of all right, our life sucks, but who cares? We have this and we can drink. So here we go.
Yeah.
But the kids are stuck with the adults. No one's really kind of old enough in Duncan's kind of in a place where he's not quite old enough to completely go out on his own. He can go to the beach as long as he goes with Trent's daughter. He doesn't kind of get to venture off too much and be quite the older teen that he is because he is just 14. But he kind of he meets Susanna, the nice girl next door, who is Anna Sophia Robb, and at least she and his social awkwardness comes out a million miles an hour, where he it comes out more and more the more you meet Duncan, and probably not helped by the presence of Trent kind of putting him down all the time. But the fact that Susanna even gives him the time of day without kind of immediate dismissal shows that we have at least one promising character who's not a complete screw up and not a complete lush.
Yeah.
He eventually kind of gets to the point where the parents are just in their ne'er-do-well screw up ways, where he can kind of get away enough that he can kind of venture into town. The only bike available is a little girl's bike in the garage, so he rocks that heading into town, and works his way kind of into the area where he runs into our guy Owen, played by Sam Rockwell, at a restaurant, and they meet over Pac-Man and kind of half bond, or at least kind of half share some jokes with each other. We kind of get the vibe that Sam Rockwell is exactly that, kind of the one cool guy in the room that everybody loves and is cool enough to kind of talk to a kid. I don't know how many 30-somethings or 40-somethings would give any kind of teenager time, even just busting balls on Pac-Man.
And he's in such a state of arrested development too, that it's such a weird dynamic, as all the other adults, like in Duncan's life, are grasping for that childhood, freedom. Meanwhile,
to avoid
Right.
responsibility.
Yeah.
Whereas with Owen, it's the
Yeah,
other way
yeah, yeah.
around.
yeah, Owen's just like, oh, I live here and I can't believe I have to go do
Yeah.
something. Like,
Yeah.
because even then, like, it still kind of shocks me. Like, this guy manages the
Right.
water whiz. Like, how'd he get there? You know, like, because like they're leaving the restaurant and they're like, come on, Owen, like it's time to go. And he's like, hold on,
got to finish my quarter. You know, yeah.
yeah.
Cherry's not going to
No,
get itself.
Right, he likes that level with the cherry,
Yeah.
as he says. It's like that's the first level.
Oh man, but obviously when you meet Sam Rockwell, you again just the vibe that he puts out is it, and he's a fun actor. He's a guy with a gift of gab. So I mean,
Yes.
it's immediately when you see him, he's unlike all the other adult characters, much like Mike mentioned. We kind of go from there to that was Duncan's first kind of meet of Owen, but it doesn't last too much. He's stuck on a boat ride where he's got to wear the humiliating life jacket as the kid who can't swim.
Yeah,
What
poor
a
guy.
scene that Trent just grinds that in of like, you know, you got to wear this kid, and it is the worst. I mean, I've been on boats and there's plenty of like smaller, easier ways to do life jacket.
Yeah.
He gets the deluxe Buick special of like
Yeah.
the world's
Yeah.
biggest life jacket.
Even mom's trying to advocate,
Yeah.
you know, and Rob Corddry too, like, he'll be fine. He
sit in the
doesn't
middle
need
of
to
the
wear
boat, man.
that. And Trent's like, oh no, gotta be
Oh, I
safe.
know.
It's just a
Yeah.
bully, really.
And
like,
just
no other real word for it, but just bullying.
Yeah, he's just taking his insecurities out of this poor kid.
and tries to cover it in, oh, we're going to make a man out of you by the end of the summer. Not doing that, you know. Like if you were the helpful person, he would skirt you past some of those things, like get you a different bike than the girl's bike, get you a different life jacket than that, but no.
Pay attention.
Oh
to
yeah,
you.
but he grinds it home.
Listen,
and it is in these early scenes that you can tell Trent is into mom with Pam, and Pam is pretty into Trent. That might be a haunt later in the show. Like, what did we really see in Trent? But for now, that's kind of where that's at. After kind of that boat ride, he gets a little more freedom to venture and find a few things, and he soon discovers the local water park, the Water Whiz, and kind of Owen in his element, bouncing off of Nate Fax and Jim Rash and Maya Rudolph, where he kind of learns the place, including Lewis and Roddy, and who are, again, the directors and writers in the movie. Oscar winners, in fact, coming off of The Descendants 3 years before this. And Kaylin, with Maya Rudolph being the head manager, and he kind of starts to hear kind of the myths of the place, where Owen kind of starts to at least include him and take him under the wing. You get that myth of someone passing someone on the Devil's Peak water slide, and the bonding begins, and he kind of scores a floater job. So now he's got something he can actually go to kind of get away. And again, mom kind of asks, he kind of skirts around the question, like, where do you go every day? And he hides it. He tells no one.
Well, and he just responds to her, where have you been?
Right, exactly.
You know, like, get off my case because you're gone too. And mom, who equally really has no backbone, just crumbles under that. Like, okay.
And the cool thing is, with us coming at this movie with adult eyes, as in about the same age that the characters likely in the movie, we could probably really see underneath Toni Collette going, hey, this is at least a secure enough person that I can kind of sort of date.
Yeah.
I do get a summer out of this. Let's see where this goes with a guy named Trent. Maybe he's not my most ideal person, but he gives me attention, and I can easily see
he makes me feel good.
Checks enough boxes.
And Steve is, I know we see the evils that he does to Duncan on the side. We don't see those evils that he does to Pam, where I think in a different movie, and this is the calculation of Steve Carell, in my opinion, where he dials it up just enough to be a jerk, but not a total mustache twirling anti-rom-com villain, the guy you want to see completely go down jerk, where not that he's redeemable. I think we're on that track where he's not going to shake his ways, but it's enough that we hit him without throwing the movie out. And that helps a lot from Steve.
Well, and you get a vibe too. I got the vibe that he's got a much longer history of being a bachelor than she does of being a bachelorette. Yeah. So he's lived this kind of free verse lifestyle, and I think he really does like her, but not necessarily the baggage that comes with her. And it's hard to shake some of that. This is what I do over the summer, and if I can still pull some of that, it's gross. Yeah. It's gross when married men do it, but in some areas, it's like, this is what I've been doing, and now I kind of want my cake and eat it too.
Well, he has this sort of idealized version, I think, of what a girlfriend or like a partner is, and even like the people associated with her. He's trying to kind of mold her into what into the version of her that he wants. And the same thing with Duncan. He sees Duncan as almost like an anchor on himself. And if I can get this kid from a 3 to a 6, then that's better for me. Right?
Great way of thinking about that, Curtis.
Well, and we do get that little exchange early on where there's plans flowing left and right and center, and Allison Janney's character is just like, oh, he's so free, so free spirited. He's going to go along with anything. And then of course we get to that board game on that rainy day, and we realize that he's willing to be flexible as long as he still has control.
Yeah, that scene's a great example of like just taking character work to the next level. It's, you would think on the page it's just a simple scene of like, 4 people stuck in time for a board game, but how can you twist everyone's dynamics into a knot where, what's Duncan's comfort level with mom dating this guy? Because Duncan knows more right now than mom, and then you see Trent trapped away from all the people he's trying to impress, not being able to be very impressive. Then daughter Stephanie along for the ride of like just disconnected and out of it, and all that comes to a head over Candyland of all things. So. Slick little scene.
My family we hate playing Candyland at home too.
I get it. Some of this peaks a little bit, or things turn, or things escalate in terms of the adult relationships when we get to the big 4th of July night, and the kind of the clam bake run by Allison Janney's character, and and for Duncan, his bonding with Susanna grows a little more, and again, this girl is willing to give him the time of day and just see that he's all right and check on him a little bit. But Duncan's big discovery is that he sees Trent's wandering eye for Amanda Pete's character of Joan, where there's a little canoodling that Trent gets to observe and witness. And I'm impressed on 2 ends where, one, I think a simpler movie would have him just run straight to mom, crying and exasperated and tattling, whatever you want to call it. But he's like, this is not it's all the maturity. Maybe it's, I don't know how many teens could do this at 14, but like the maturity to be like, all right, like I don't want. He's probably already assuming enough about Trent, but at the same time, mom needs to figure this out for herself. If I come and do it, it's not as genuine or not as effective. And I don't know. How do you feel about that scene? Is that a immediate report situation, or is that did the kid make the right call situation?
I took it some too as Duncan's already like super upset with mom, just in general, to where it's almost like, like I'm going to put this in my back pocket. And use it when it's necessary, if it's necessary, because not that Steve Carell, not that Trent was completely out of the blue, but he did walk away from her.
He did,
so there was some of this where, maybe last year when there was no girlfriend in the picture, this was going on. She was into it. He kind of walked away. Still enough that Duncan was upset, but I really think I took it more as, I've got this.
What do you think, Curtis?
I got sort of 2 responses to this. One of them is kind of picking up where Oz was going with it, and it's Duncan has very little trust, I think, in not necessarily in mom herself, but in her decisions right now, and I could see him hesitating to kind of do the I'm going to run and tell mom thing out of fear of driving mom closer to Trent.
Yeah, it's going to be his word against mine because he's just going to deny it.
Yeah, and I could also see it just as one who has had struggles with social anxiety. I could also see part of that being Duncan was just so unsettled by seeing that it overloaded his system. And
great way of thinking about it.
He just didn't know what to do with it. So I see it as a little bit of both there.
To me, it's a pivotal scene because I think the movie could pivot from that place in so many different ways, and I think and Michael turned out to be right where he back pocketed it to the right moment he needed to a little bit later. Luckily, that scene is bounced up by the breakdancing scene at the water park where our guy Duncan's got to earn his workload in a room full of adults who should easily be able to take care of this, but no, let's send the 14-year-old in. He has to kind of break up a breakdancing scene, and he earns that fantastic name of Pop and Lock. So.
Which completely flies in the face of the previous scene of I'm 14. I don't have the confidence to speak about what I just saw, but I will go whole hog on trying to break dance in front of a crowd. But I think it also just shows like his Land of Oz, Kansas scenario of I don't have to be myself here.
In Waterways,
I can, like, nobody knows who I am here. Nobody's judging me. and here, like they've given me this responsibility, and I'm going to show. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous to think that they would invite him in today. Like it was just such a crafted scene on the page to be like, oh no, you have to dance too, and it's like, no, this probably would have turned into a.
Oh, I agree.
Yes, he would have been a stain.
Get out of here, little man.
Exactly.
In most real life scenarios.
Totally agree. But the success of that gives him an absolute boost of confidence. We roll into like a success montage, so to speak, of our Rocky moment in the movie, where we go through different little things that he does to get a little tanner, get a little more confident, put those sunglasses on, direct the water slide,
a little strut,
a
little bit, rips the fringe off of the handlebars of the girl's bike. I don't need these.
It kind of that whole success kind of montage peaks into the waterside clog moment, where it kind of a demonstration of Owen's irresponsibility, which it then kind of puts our question mark in the head of like, is this a good father figure or a problematic one? Where we're still on the fence of like, what's Owen really about? But at the same time, it's more fun and more frivolity and boosted confidence for Duncan along the way, where it's a cool scene. So, but yeah, and of course Rockwell plays it hilariously, where he's got the Vladimir Ishmael, like all the silly names for the local leads.
He like Willy Wonka's it. No, stop, don't.
But that from that spot we get to that Candyland incident we talked about before, where after that we kind of have a day where Susanna follows Duncan to discover his kind of water whiz second life, and we get that great intercom scene with Rockwell, just kind of like, are you hitting on a girl? Just normally.
He's over the horn.
I was reading the trivia. He actually, the filmmakers actually got in a little bit of trouble.
I read that too.
Because I guess they were filming at a real water park, with customers there. And,
that water park was in that's the same water park from Grown Ups, the Sandler movie. So it's
Is it? Okay.
It's kind of a great little scene. I think. Again, in different hands, and maybe with a more consistent, like Curtis said, when you have the social anxiety, that would probably mortify the kid where he run away. But you know what? He can be himself and walk up to a girl,
and her. She's still a teenage girl. So. Like,
that's the soul surfer girl,
But it just
Anna Sophia.
Yeah, it also just shows the
her comfort. Her confidence.
But I was thinking more of Owen's, of just almost like complete disregard for everyone's personal thoughts, as long as there's a joke to be told.
Which again can be problematic if it turns out good or turns out bad, and we're still in that moment of like, is this a good relationship or a bad relationship?
Well, and I want to speak on that for just a second, because it, I come from divorced parents and have different father figures, and it's interesting that we talk about good or bad father figure, and what's interesting is there is no clear-cut definition. There is no perfect father figure. There's no checklist of qualities in this situation. In almost in every aspect, Trent had more qualities to be a father figure.
A guy with means, stable job.
He's he's in a relationship with my mom. He already is a father, and then there's Owen, who is just this 14-year-old kid in a grown man's body. But in this particular dynamic, that's exactly what Duncan needed, which
he just needed somebody who was going to treat him with unconditional positive regard, somebody who wasn't going to judge him, somebody who wasn't going to call him a 3.
But Susanna and Duncan get to kind of share a hangout day at Water Whiz, where another second montage where she can they bond, have a good day. She sees him at work, they have a good time.
Some girl yells out, "Hey, Pop and Lock!"
Always good stuff.
Like he's got a little groupie following.
Oh shucks!
Oh man, I was walking through the concession stand and she saw me.
To keep the movie's balance going from high to low, right after this is kind of that Joan secret affair kind of gets out. The next scene where kind of both Duncan and Trent blow up in a really good scene where like I said, kind of maybe that's that new confidence he's got at work, but he's willing to shove Steve Carell's character of Trent, and that's a bold move. I don't care if you're 14 or 44. So that's good to see. And same thing for Trent. Like, he's willing to kind of walk right up to that kid and get in that kid's face if something doesn't happen, where a shove or two's there, where at the same time Steve does just enough to be intimidating, but without equally putting his hands on that kid. But
he wanted to. He come at it.
But he realizes, I think, as you're going to say here, we're like, he's around his people, and heaven forbid he shows that much embarrassment over a kid. Like, don't let a 14-year-old blow you up in front of all your people.
Well, yeah, because it was, this was where Steve, like Trent was gone all
That's
day
right.
too, and then had told Mom that I was
Right.
out with whatever his name is. We were out
Kip.
on his boat,
Kip.
lost track of time.
Yeah,
I was out with Kip, lost track of
Yeah.
time. Yada yada yada, and then now, like you
Mhm.
mentioned, we're at this dinner party kind of
Mhm.
scene at the outside where, Alice and Janney was, Kip's like, I gotta get you, I gotta get on your boat, and he's like, well, it's in the shop,
Yeah.
in the shop for a week.
in which then Mom doesn't really know what to
Right.
think, other than I know I'm being
Yeah.
lied to. But this is where Duncan plays that trump card of like, haha, I know what
Yeah.
you've been up to.
Well, and had the confidence.
Right,
to play
Yeah,
it,
and
too.
finally had the confidence to just call it
And
out.
I like that Toni Collette is granted one little moment where I don't know if it's at the clam bake on the 4th of July or at this party before the blow up, but like there's a view where like she puts it together. Like, wait, he wasn't on the boat. Oh, I bet I know where he was. And they kind of put the camera stays on Toni just for a moment of like, oh man, I think I got a problem here, but I have to make it look good. I'm still here at this party and I'm around these other people. And
well, and they're stuck.
Yeah.
Like she and Duncan are stuck.
And a lesser actress wouldn't have been able to pull
yeah,
that off.
because it's a
way.
dialogue scene for Toni, but she just the eyes move, the heart, the shoulders sink. It's a great scene from Toni.
I think that's Toni Collette's bread and butter is, can I be a single mom of a troubled kid? Let me do it. You know, like Sixth Sense, this, Heredity, like just bring it on. Let me be that. And then she just acts
She sure does.
snot out of
and
it.
in a little indie, like she didn't have to do this movie. All these people
Yeah.
didn't have to do this movie, so it's a
No.
great place for her to put 110% effort in.
Well, and and looking at it here, like the movie had a $5 million budget, so everybody's just doing a favor for somebody else. Like, you know, it's like
$4.5 million of that went to Steve Carell's gym
probably
membership.
or the tanning booth.
he did like good for him. But yeah, it's like this was a feel good. Let's just do it. Yeah, $5 million. Like,
And it's weird because like I know this is 11 years ago.
11
They don't
years
make
ago,
movies like this anymore, or if they do, they don't get big screen a chance to make some money in the box office, which is a shame.
Right.
After this blow up, Duncan's pretty raw with his emotions, pretty splintered with his confidence. Where he does try for a kiss with Susanna. Susanna says, "No, not that. You're not in the right place. I'm not in the right place." And it just kind of turns into a place where Duncan bolts away. After that, you go,
yeah. She let him lean for like 5 seconds.
Sure did.
Like it wasn't like he snuck in for a quick one. He's like leaning and leaning and leaning, and she's just looking at him.
We should both lean this way. Go to Curtis. Yeah.
It's like, what did you? It's like, and then she's like, oh, like it caught her off guard. Oh, like he was leaning in for like you didn't see this coming. Like he might as well have just told you in 5 seconds, I'm going to be close enough to kiss you.
I'm going to pucker my lips.
Right.
But he bolts from that tough experience and that kind of rebuffment, so to speak. He bolts with Peter to attend what ends up being a staff party at the Water Whiz, and
I love when he grabs Peter.
I know, crazy. And Peter comes showing up and just busts Sam Rockwell's balls immediately at the party, you know.
Yeah.
But again, here we see Sam Rockwell again take kind of a broken toy that is Peter, so to speak, and welcome him right into the fold. That
you got to show me that eye. Let me see that eye.
Embraces the insecurity,
and it's this sets off yet another montage where it's just a really good party scene. The widest smiles and the biggest laughs we've gotten from Liam James in this movie come out here, where he is in his happy and comfort place with people, and at a party you probably should not be, because again, we have all these over 30 people smoking cigars and drinking beers, and here's the 14-year-old in the party, where problematic on one side.
That kidnapped an even younger kid,
right? Like, I mean, this should be a party of yellow flags, but at the same time,
like no one knew where they were.
But we're watching it and we're not batting an eye. We're happy he's around people who will comfort and respect him. He gets a pull aside moment with Sam Rockwell on the deck, where like the events of earlier in the evening come out of him. Sam gets to hear, or I should say, Owen gets to hear it, and he tells him the words he really needs to hear. Like, hey, that's not about you, that's about him. And just that's a really good shared scene that I think then finally, not that it was really in that much doubt, but seals the deal that this is a good person for our guy Duncan. Where Owen's irritable stuff may have this, may have that, but in the end, boy, his heart's in the right place and his wisdom's in the right place, and he extends it with no regard for, like you said, value or pecking order or hierarchy. Like he will give that empathy to anyone who's cool enough to be in his presence or just willing.
Well, and we saw it show up a little bit earlier with Owen too, as you know, Caitlin's character was torn because she's like, I thought this was going to be a one summer job. I've been here 3 years. I wanted this to be more. And Owen's just too busy with cracking up. But even then, like that, almost like that come to Jesus moment of, I'm in, are you? And Owen, even though he's this practical joker, still has enough dignity for himself and for others to be like, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
Like,
owned it.
And we see that progression with him throughout. From the rest on, even at the party, he's got his arm around her, makes her feel wanted. Because that's all she's wanted too, is I've been doing this for you. Like, I work at a water park over the summer.
Yeah.
You know, can I have a little bit more, please? And he's like, sure. You could stay in my apartment.
So Duncan spends the night at this party, so does Peter, and comes back early in the next morning, and it's kind of that shocking thing for the adults back at the beach house that where were you all night and this and that, and it's kind of a lot of I don't expect you to understand. There's again, he keeps hiding his job and his other places from mom, but it kind of does turn into after the events of the blow up at the party, they are packing up to leave and leave likely early. So Trent is going to drive Pam and Duncan back into town, wherever they're from, New York or otherwise, and they're going to leave. But before he is forced into that car to leave, he bolts again back to Waterways. And
well, they stop to get gas.
Yeah, it stops to get gas
at the gas station right across from the Water Whizzes.
But he knows that locked in this car, he could be truly stuck in this car and never see these good friends that he's made again. So he makes the run for Waterways in a great ending crescendo scene where he sees Owen, lets him know he's going goodbye, but he kind of instead of making it a goodbye, he's like, he throws that gauntlet down of like to kind of pull off the Devil's Peak myth that we were kind of promised and telegraphed on earlier. And they do the water slide pass. Power hungry animals comes on. It's good times.
And Owen had been claiming that he's the only one that's done it. And then when he does get this pass, that's when he's like the first person to ever do it. Like it's been nothing but a myth at this point. And so it's another like pass the torch to Duncan of like, well, you made this myth a reality, dude.
And just giving him a moment.
Yeah.
And in the flirt.
I would have liked to see how he stopped himself in the slide to let Duncan.
I agree. But in the flurry of this moment, obviously, Mom can see where he's running from the gas station. They all kind of try to follow and chase Duncan down, get to the water park, and Mom has a nice warming moment where she sees her son as the employee of the month with his little nickname on the wall, and it all makes sense now for her. And it's a great moment where she's like, he has done something with himself, and he's found some people, and he sees him smile in that great picture. Then they do the water slide thing, but Trent, of course, is there to get people back in the car, and easily my favorite scene in the movie. Owen's like, "Hey, you got a hell of a kid here." Meets Mom, and then Trent steps in and then Owen does the best dialogue-less scene of heroism I've seen in a long time, where without words, Owen just puts himself between Trent and Duncan. Again, no threat, no taunt, no nothing. The body language and the positioning says it all. Trent backs down, and Owen and Duncan have a great goodbye. They get back. They know it's kind of this summer is over. They get back in the car, and instead of Pam spinning that car ride with Trent, she crosses the back to the way back, spends that car ride home with her son, and things I think will be healed. And that's the thing, like. We get to the end of this movie with still a ton of uncertainty. We have a closing arc of whatever this summer trip was, but we know there's a lot of healing still necessary ahead for Mom and son, and that's the end of the way back.
Excellent choice and excellent review.
Yeah, well done with the plot. Patreon subscriber Don S.
You've done this
a couple
before.
times. Yeah, maybe once or twice. Maybe I've written it down a couple times. Yeah.
Well, hey, folks, it's that point in the show where all three of us will give our own unique rating to the film we've been yapping about, 2013's The Way Back. Patreon subscriber Don S. Cousin Don, how would you rate
I would
flick?
rate this 99 Devil's Peak water slides. Yeah.
Nice.
That's a solid rating.
Truth be told, as the film critic guy, this was a 5-star movie for me. This is a 5 on Letterboxd. I adore this movie. Like I said, I've seen a lot of coming of age films over the years, but this one takes the cake on a lot of levels because it's not that automatic movie where I've seen so many of these where everything is tied so nicely in a ribbon at the end of the movie, and this one doesn't, yet still ends with enough crescendos to make it matter. And I dig that about this.
Yeah, this will be one that I will recommend my daughter watch. She's 13 years old. A couple months ago, I recommended Angus to her.
Yeah.
And she watched it on her own a few days later, and I knew that because she requested to listen to "Fade Into You" by
There you
Mazzy
go.
Star on the way to school.
Yeah.
And I went, and she goes, "Can I play a song?" And she took my phone and it started playing. I go, "Did you watch Angus?"
Yeah.
She goes, "Yeah, I really like that movie."
The trailer song in this movie, which shows up in the movie Power Hungry Animals, I loved it, and it's on my phone ever since 10 years ago. And when people ask me for just a feel good movie, and we're the movie dorks in our circles of friends and acquaintances.
Yep.
When people say, "Don, what's a feel good movie I've never seen before? Like, give me something that's not off the beaten path," I tell them this one, and it's been 100% comeback of Don. That's a winner recommendation.
Yeah.
Usually Dracula 3000
There
is
you
how
go.
I answer that question.
I always
in my
go
circle
beyond
of
the
friends.
sea with.
Oh man, gosh, yikes! That's a rough one there.
Pretty much anything with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
All right, hey Oz, how would you rate this flick?
I'm gonna give this one ghost crab, Way of the Samurai.
What?
Okay.
One ghost crab, Way of the Samurai.
Yeah, they're like, let's go get ghost crabs. And my first thought is, I'm like, I wonder if Forrest Whitaker's going to be out there
I would
picking
say
up.
Forrest
boy.
Whitaker would appreciate that.
So what do you got, Curtis?
I'm gonna go with let's go with 91 Poppin' Locks.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah, 91 Poppin' Locks.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, well, hey, next up, folks, we've got Outside Insights. All three of us have been scouring the interwebs, searching for unprofessional reviews that tickle our respective funny bones, and we hope they tickle yours as well. Don S., what is your Outside Insight?
Being the Rotten Tomatoes professional, much like I did last time with Anaconda, I did bring an actual film critic on this one. So I went to Rotten Tomatoes, I went to the Rotten Reviews section, I went to Top Critics to find the creme de la creme, supposedly. So this is from Amy Taubin of Film Comment Magazine.
Cream of the
crop, I guess. I don't know.
Nobody does it better.
Right.
Yeah, it wouldn't be an episode without an 80s wrestling
That's
promo.
what we need. And we're all 80s wrestling kids. I love it. Yeah. Sidebar comment, go see the Iron Claw. It's amazing. That's 80s wrestling. But this is Amy Taubin from Film Comment Magazine. She is a top critic. She watched this movie at the Sundance Film Festival where it did a premiere. And two sentences kind of came up the most where like she saw a different movie than the two of us. Where Sundance would not be Sundance without few unbelievably stupid, cliched, graceless movies in the mix. The worst that I saw was Nate Faxon and Jim Rash's tweener comedy, The Way Back. And she says, she kind of ends, it's a capsule review for a festival. She ends it with, the movie is a mess, but Moore's loathing for the corporatization of all things Mickey is admirable, and it is palpable in every image. Don't look for this one in the theater near you. And she mixes this with like Escape from Tomorrow and other movies in her review, but just yikes. I can't go to the unbelievably stupid, cliched, and graceless level with this movie. Can't. Sorry, Amy.
Really?
Yeah.
That is an interesting choice of words.
Tough one.
Steve Carell probably stood her up.
Maybe.
Buff Steve Carell.
That's right. Peak meat Steve Carell.
Peak meat Steve Carell.
Your term for peak meat Brad Pitt has joined my lexicon of talking about hot men in every walk of life I have. Thank you, gentlemen, for the peak meat term.
That's all Curtis. That's all Curtis.
A gem that I have stolen from you and taken into conversation.
I'd like to think that my 44 years on this earth have mattered.
That's
they do now.
Yeah.
It's been validated.
You're
now a 6.
T-shirt on TeePublic in no time. Yeah.
I have aspired to be a 6 my whole life.
You did it. You look like you have pajama pants on your arms.
I'm back to a 3.
Yeah.
Just like that. Go back where you belong.
Yeah. You're like pan down in the camera. Oh, deal breaker right there. Yep. No, sorry.
Yeah. Hey Oz, what is your outside insight?
I have a letterboxd review by Barry Styles.
Oh.
Barry Styles
left 4 days ago.
Cool.
He says, "I'm gonna let the colorful words be omitted."
Okay. Cover your skits.
Screw that. Django Unchained has been dethroned. This is my favorite movie ever. Also, forcing my mate to watch this for the second time. It's okay. She loved it. Homie got so worked up when she didn't kiss him back, quoting, "He should have just done it." Bro, chill. Also, I have 15 backgrounds on my phone, one of which is a scene from this movie. I wish I could stay here forever. I told my friend, if this background shows up at this scene, when I turn my phone on, we got to celebrate. And I would like to inform you all, it did. Exactly at the moment in the film. It was very satisfying. Thanks, Barry
wow.
Styles.
That was everywhere and nowhere all at once.
Five star review.
That was Netflix and
Yeah.
chill encapsulated in the most disgusting way possible. Wow. Okay.
I bro, chill.
So now we have to prognosticate which image from the movie is the one that like turns him on.
Apparently it's the one. It's the one where he says, "I wish I could stay here forever."
Oh,
like that.
Okay.
He's 15 backgrounds on his phone, and that's
15.
one of them.
I would have gone with just Rob Corddry plopping himself down.
I'm not the one
chair.
grinding on you. Just Rob Corddry in a chair with a PBR. PBR tall boy and Rob Corddry. Good call. Yeah.
It's like they did a good job of like keeping Rob Corddry corralled.
That could have went.
Yes.
It could have went to 12 in a hurry. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
And
when you wind him up too much.
Yeah.
And
I like Rob
Same.
Corddry. But I'm glad this wasn't Hot Tub Time Machine Rob Corddry.
Even Amanda Peet too. Like she could come in and just sex pot the whole thing way too hard, but she's enough of a just the same lush as everyone else.
Yeah.
So if there's anyone who's overacting, it's probably Allison Janney, but it's perfect for what she needs to be. So
for that role.
Yeah, agreed. So, all right, Curtis, you got an outside insight.
I do have an outside insight. Mine, as always, comes from the Internet Movie Database, and it's a 10 out of 10.
Nice.
This one comes from Mr. Sharma in April of 2021, and this was just a series of like one-sentence paragraphs, which I'm going to do my best to read it in the way that I think it was intended. I love this film. I didn't expect it to be so good. It's probably one of the best feel-good films I have seen in a very long time. Well, I hope my 10 out of 10 convinces someone, and I do not give those out lightly. Just check out my other reviews.
Oh boy, 10 out of 10.
It's like Troll 2, Speed 2, Cruise Control.
I love how he dangles the carrot at the end. Check out my other reviews.
I'm going to push my own
shameless self-promotion.
Like this one.
Guilty over here. Done it once or twice. Yeah.
Mr. Sharma, I am going to go read all of your other reviews.
Yeah.
RoboCop 3.
Beyond the Sea.
Geez, there it is.
Well, hey, folks, it's that point in the show you've all been waiting for. The 3-2-1, our signature segment in which Oz, I, and Don S will all share 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about the film in question, the way back. Don S, would you like to kick us off with your 3 goods?
I think number 1 for me is Water Whiz is kind of a backdrop as a setting. I was back in my day, back in Peatone, Illinois, as a kid on summer jobs. I worked at the YMCA as a lifeguard. Did one summer at Mantino Lake as a lifeguard, and that is those 2 places, especially the Kankakee YMCA on the morning shift of 5 to 2. That is not the glamorous Baywatch shift of working in the YMCA. That is 81-year-old Peggy needs to get her laps in, and that's not like I said, no hot bodies on that shift. But I'm not
hot flashes.
Yeah, I'm not stopping any waterside girls with holding and all that. So, but no, to kind of to do the water park outdoor job, summertime stuff, whether you were a guy who cut grass or a lifeguard, or you were, baling hay, whatever you were to do, when you had an outdoor cool summer job that you can have a good time in and pretend to get a tan in, that's a fun place to be when you're 14 to 18 years old. So that's one. My second good would be kind of this movie's complete gift of gab. Faxon and Rash can really write, as evidenced by The Descendants and some of the things they've done in other places. And you get Sam Rockwell riffing in here, and it's just fun. Where like I've never heard Tuscans called the name for jeans, or when Allison Janney shows up with she called me a "see you next Tuesday," where I'm like, oh boy, that's a nice way of saying that word. And then like the breakdance move names, where he's like not north of Memphis, like just the lingo of what they talk and the way they roll is just a lot of fun.
But it also wasn't as like painful to listen to as like a Diablo Cody.
Right. Where it's it was slick. It was moved into conversation without being like the wink at the camera. Do you see what I just said? That was funny. Like
that was pretty clever, wasn't it? You should read my other review.
Because like even Sam Rockwell, he's like, guys, he even pauses and asks. The most you get of that is when he kind of pretends to kind of be the comedian around Duncan, where he's like, what? No reaction? This isn't even my best stuff. Like, he's working it in so subtly that it's not as obvious as a mic with a spotlight on you. So, and then the third good is an easy one, being the teacher and the guy who also from a divorced family who needed some father figures in his life. This movie makes me tear up when I see such a reasonably good exemplar of a father figure. Again, peaking with that stand between climax scene with Trent, where that moment happens and they kind of have that hug, and you can see that it just matters, and it is just father figures. I love taking this movie and giving it to people like that's how a man should be. You know, he's a screw up. He's Owen, but that's listen to kids, talk to kids like that guy does, and you'll get a lot farther with them. Teacher, counselor, whoever you are in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people need to feel important. They need to be recognized, and as flawed as Owen is, he does a great job of bringing the best out of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
those are my three goods.
Oz, what do you got?
My first one is my doctor said not to get water on my face.
Good one.
Oh, I love that line. They come in and just blast him with those super soakers, and he's just so angry. My doctor said not to get water on my face. My number 2 is Allison Janney. I could have gone Steve Rockwell. I left it out. But Allison Janney as a really an unnecessary character, even. Really, like, she existed just to give the kids a reason to be next door. Right. But she's Allison Janney. Mm-hmm. It's like you cast her, and you know you're going to get 110%. And she just nails it. Like, her and Toni Collette in a movie together was like, where's Frances McDormand? Right. And we'll just call it, we'll just call it amazing all the way up and down. So that's my number 2. And my third one is just, they did a great job of like perfectly capturing that summer home on the beach vibe.
Yeah.
They didn't overdo it with it being this like Weekend at Bernie's super fortress of a home. It's just like, you could tell I scraped enough together to have a second home. It's really not fantastic, but it's mine. And it just, that whole vibe really worked of we're here because we're supposed to be, but nobody's really having any real fun. We're all manufacturing our fun because it's the weekend. We're supposed to be having fun. And I've had some of those times, not just when I was younger, and it's like, I'd much rather just be home. Like, and that was my 3 goods. Curtis, what do you got?
Before I get to mine, Don, I also worked at that exact same YMCA as well.
Go figure. What shift?
Mm-hmm. I did summer camp counselor for 3 years.
We're rescuing your kids so they can't swim from the pool. That's awesome. Yeah,
exactly.
At 12 o'clock, the camp kids come in, and it's just like the second graders in South Park to pee in the pool.
Luckily, we got Don the Torpedo Shanahan there to rescue lives.
I had rippling red hair back then. I was a smooth lifeguard for a while. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. My first good. Oz and I are like we're suckers for a good montage. So I'll throw in the montage of Duncan fitting in and gaining confidence after the Water Whiz. That just fun sequence, and that's where you really
taking over the role of Hold It.
Hold
it.
So good.
Like,
Hold It.
I felt a little better watching Duncan hold these teenage girls back than I did watching
30-something-year-old
adult man. Like, watch this. I'm like, that's gross.
Yeah, just let's see. My second one, Steve Carell got jacked.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like Chris Hemsworth jacked, but like
it's He-Man.
But like he knew that's the kind of role.
Yeah, car salesman.
Like, this is a guy that takes himself way too seriously. It's incredibly important for him to impress other people and to be thought of in high regard by other people. And and being built enough, physically built enough, is a part of that image that he's trying to give off. And you lean into it. And my third good, I can identify with Duncan and his social anxiety, and I will even say clinically, probably social anxiety disorder. So as someone who has also struggled with that, even though they didn't put a name to it, and I don't think they had to, it wasn't necessarily about that part of it. It was a part of it, but it wasn't, that wasn't the defining trait. But I thought they really kind of nailed those characteristics well. His reluctance to talk to people he doesn't know, his hesitancy to share intimate details, to be intimidated by people who he perceives as threatening. So I thought they did a really good job with that aspect of it.
And it wasn't. I think we've seen this in other movies where they'll dial all of it to 11. where they give him every possible trait that a person of that would have,
Yes.
Yeah.
and all of them.
Yeah, they got the DSM open and like
Yeah.
checking
and
every box.
they'll give those kinds of kids every single one of those traits, and then overdial them where they're just an exasperating hot mess of a hurricane of a
Right.
character. Whereas this was small and subtle, like it, obviously he wasn't very verbal about it, but he had it. Occasionally he's got his ear pods, and then the way he slumps and sits, but doesn't dwell. It's just it was just well tuned. I'm with you, Curtis. They really got that right.
Yeah, pulls his knees into his chest when he's sitting on the beach at the beginning.
I was going to use that same example of like, I'm going to go to the beach in my jeans and my tennis shoes and just sit here and hate it.
Yeah.
There's just too many people.
Yeah.
Like, let me stay home and sit and be myself, and it'd be fine.
So those are my 3 goods. Hey, Don S., what do you got for your 2 bads?
My 2 bads are the treatment of Peter with his eye. You're the worst parent is the way he introduces his line.
I can't help but chuckle.
Yeah.
But
It's Marty Feldman's grandson.
Oh, is it really? Son of a gun.
I thought that was Corey.
Oh gosh, but no. I mean, it's
Uncle.
we've seen in other movies and lesser movies and greater movies handicaps picked on. Now this one's picked on for. I like to think gentler ribbing than other places where it's overly done, and of course it helps when Owen comes in the end and makes it a cool thing. But no, the treatment of Alice and Janie's treatment, which is very intentionally driven, is kind of bad to watch. The other bad is I don't have a very strong second bad, but just the absolute absentee parenting. I just like everyone's off the clock. Deal with your own stuff, kids. Maybe we'll have dinner or get back by then, but. Yeah, that you don't like to see that, especially if we're coming from this many broken homes where these teens likely could use a little bit of attention and not you adults getting attention. So. Well,
yeah, it's like this was established. I don't know, it didn't really establish how long they were there, but they were there long enough for Duncan to be established at Waterwiz, which means he was there every day, and there was really never a real conversation about where do you go all day.
Yeah.
Because like you said, the parental figures are just as absent as he is.
The irony is that, like one of the defining traits of social anxiety disorder is avoidance, avoidant behavior. And like these parents were avoiding their own responsibilities. Yeah. So there is kind of an ironic twist on that here as well.
Duncan ends up being arguably the most responsible person in the film.
Yeah, crazy enough.
Yeah.
Those are my 2.
All right. Hey, Oz, what? Yeah.
My 2 bads are, first one is, this is definitely a victim of the indie movie starter pack.
Yeah.
Of let's get kids mingling with adults, but it's okay. Let's get he needs a bike, but let's make it a girl's bike. Yeah. That'll be just subtle enough to be, and it just stacks on jacket. All of these just these tropes of awkward scenario, and it's like it's fine. Like the movie's great, it has nothing, but it's watching it and I'm like, this has got a little bit of Juno flavor to it, of like, let's make them super quirky, like not overboard, but just enough to be like, this in the realities, is this impossible to happen? No. But is this likely to happen in a real scenario? Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah, like Natalie Portman was there, and all he did was talk about the shins the whole time.
Exactly.
And,
like when his shirt was the same texture as the wallpaper.
Yeah.
Oh man, good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And my second one is that ride home. I'm glad she moved to the back, but it's just still top to bottom of like,
that's a long ride.
That's awkward. Yeah. Back in college, I had a girlfriend at ISU, and a buddy and I went from WIU to ISU to each spend time with our respective girlfriends. And the night we got there, my girlfriend and I broke up.
Ooh.
So the rest of the weekend felt like this ride home of like, well, we don't hate each other, but I also can't really leave. Yeah. My ride is,
not gonna thumb it back to the car.
Yeah, so we just
there's no Ubers in 1999 when that happens. Yeah, nope. Oh boy.
So that's my 2 bads.
Okay.
What do you got?
I gotta go with Toni Collette is so great, and I wanted more Toni Collette just because she's so great, and like I'm being very selfish with that. And again, the movie wasn't necessarily about her character, but it's like I just want more Toni Collette because she's that good. And the other one is just Men Like Trent.
I think
Yeah.
we've all
Men like
known one or
Trent.
two like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where like they're not so gregarious in their awfulness, but there's just this constant simmer
Yeah.
of just of awful and toxic and like hyper masculine and overly competitive and like shoulds and supposed to's and like and like it was said before, like flexible but by my terms.
Mhm.
And like just
Yep.
that is like I really pride myself on being able to get along with anybody, like whether it be friends or family or colleagues or students. And the one personality trait I struggle with is arrogance. That is the one personality trait that I've always struggled with to connect to connect with if I sense that from somebody else.
Good call.
And so I didn't like the Trent character. I mean, you're not supposed to like the Trent character,
right?
But again, he epitomizes, I think, that personality trait very well.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, let's get to the haws. Don, what do you got for your haw?
How does a 14-year-old in Massachusetts secure a job earning a paycheck without parental approval or child labor laws being broken? That's my wonder.
It's 2013.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, right. I guess you can get away with that then, but
yeah,
I think there's a clause for water parks.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah,
Obama.
Right, Obama. Thanks a lot, Massachusetts.
Thanks, Obama.
Kennedy. So that's my hunt. It's like, well, he got a paycheck at one moment. I'm like, how'd you? You need a social security card. You need a W-9. Parent signature. Nothing.
Just there you go.
You got a job, buddy.
If you look very closely at the end, when Pam walks up and sees the employee of the month, the word employee is in quotation marks.
Okay.
Yeah,
so.
and the check was actually they have to pop it.
Right. Or I can just imagine like
it was one of those big
taking a wad.
Yeah.
I thought payday would be like taking a wad of money and handing him like $60. Like, good job, kid. 2 weeks.
There you go. Thanks. Nice job.
So I don't know how he did it, but yeah, that was funny.
Hey, Oz, what do you got for your
why do stunted oddities always spark romantic curiosity and attractive people in indie movies?
Interesting.
And I use stunted oddities as in quotation marks of like, it seems like it's another one of those indie movie tropes of, oh, look at that quirky, less than attractive kid. I'm kind of hot. I'm going to be in it. Like, it just seems to be just kind of that staple. Like what was so redeeming about Michael Cera and Juno? I keep bringing that back.
I understand.
But it's
You're
like,
right.
It's those little things of
that's
like
the one.
Younger Curtis wished that he was a character in one of his movies.
Yeah. So where was my indie reality?
Where is me? I was
there's a little teenage manic pixie dream girl situation going on here for sure.
Yeah. So that's my hug. Curtis, what do you got?
How did this movie get me to not like Steve Carell? Like, he's
acting,
right?
Yeah, he comes across as one of the few like super genuine, down to earth, A-listers in Hollywood.
Yeah,
and again, like he's Foxcatcher and all the other stuff too. But like, this movie made me not like a character played by Steve Carell.
He is an actor that is hard to not like. So when he gets there, it just shows his range.
Good, man. Yeah. I think the best I've seen him act is I like Beautiful Boy about 3-4 years ago, where he's Timothy Chalamet's dad, and Timothy Chalamet's going through like alcoholism and drug addiction, and it's a dad that can't shake his son off of the vices that he is, and to the point where he has to he's the one that puts his son into therapy, and knowing that this might not turn out well, and that regression is possible. It's a really hard movie about addiction, but Steve Carell plays this stalwart father who learns a few things along the way, where he just can't will it to go away, where he recognizes, I got to get my son help. And then Timothy Chalamet comes in as young pup Timothy Chalamet, not quite peak meat Timothy Chalamet, but we're just Dune 2 right now is peak meat Chalamet.
I think Timothy Chalamet's too lean.
Yeah, he's lean chicken. Yeah, he's chicken tender. Yeah,
beef jerky.
That's about right. He is a slight man. Yeah,
peak chicken wing.
Yeah,
right.
He's not flexing on the beach anytime soon. That's a good point.
No.
Yeah.
So. All right, that wraps up this episode.
Yeah, what a fun episode.
We are halfway through Patreon Subscriber Choice Month, and unfortunately, we're out of co-hosts. We're out of guest hosts.
But we're not out of Patreon subscriber
we are not out of
suggestions, though.
No, they would rather stay off camera with their chip-ins, and next week is yours. So, Curtis, what do we got, and who is it from?
We are going to go to Patreon subscriber Aaron A for this next one. And we're going to go all the way back to the mid-20-teens for the Melissa McCarthy comedy romp Spy.
All right. Okay.
And also coming of age film for Jason Statham.
That's the most range he's shown in a movie in a long time. Play the doofus instead of the himbo hero. So, oh boy.
Yeah. So yeah, Spy is.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're heading over to Melissa McCarthy territory.
That's fine. She's another fine actress. Yeah. So, but yeah, that does wrap up this episode. Dom, we definitely want to thank you for not only your patronage but also your contributions and your willingness.
You betcha. Thank you, fellas. It's an honor to be here, and loyal listener. Yeah. It's you guys are the laughs in my weekend. Wednesdays are the best when your new episodes come out. So thank you for doing your work, fellas.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. So.
All the feels.
Oh, but yeah, that does wrap up another episode of Let's Talk About Flicks. Social media wise, you guys can find us Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. There is a Patreon link down below if you'd like to join the charge, and we'll fit in more and more next week or next year when we do this. But without further ado, again, thanks a lot, Don, and for Let's Talk About Flicks, I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we'll see you guys next week with Spy.